Where did Michael Spinks disappear? The boxer who defied everyone, rising from an Olympic champion to a heavyweight legend, defeating opponents bigger and more experienced than him. After making history in boxing, he suddenly vanished from the spotlight. What happened to him? And where is he now? Stay tuned for the full story of this mysterious champion. In July 1956, Michael Spinks was born in St. Louis, Missouri, a city known at the time for its harsh environment filled with poverty, violence, and gangs. Michael grew up in a humble family, facing significant economic challenges. His father worked in low-paying jobs, and his mother struggled to raise her children in a neighborhood that showed no mercy. His older brother, Leon Spinks, had a major influence on him from an early age. Leon, born in 1953, was the troublemaker of the family, unlike Michael, who was quieter and more reserved. Leon loved fighting from childhood and never shied away from confrontations, whether on the streets or in the gym. Michael, on the other hand, was different in nature, more observant and analytical of the world around him. Michael's childhood was full of challenges, growing up in a neighborhood where families struggled to put food on the table, let alone escape the violence that surrounded them. There weren't many options for kids at the time. They either fell victim to the streets or found another path to success. At the age of 10, Michael started showing an interest in sports, but he wasn't sure which one suited him. First, he tried American football, but he didn't find himself in it. Then he experimented with basketball, but he wasn't tall enough to excel. Finally, when he saw his brother Leon training in boxing, his curiosity was piqued. One day, Leon came home with bruises on his face after a training session, but strangely, he was laughing happily. Michael asked him, "Why are you happy when you look so beaten up?" Leon laughed and said, "Because I hit too. That's the beauty of boxing. It's not just about the pain, but about enduring it and responding to it." At that moment, Michael began to realize that boxing wasn't just a sport, it was an art that required intelligence, discipline, and courage. By the time he turned 13, Michael finally decided to take boxing seriously. He started training at the same gym as his brother, but he quickly realized that boxing was not as easy as he had imagined. In the early days, his hands ached, his face was covered in scratches, and he was utterly exhausted after each session. But what set Michael apart from the beginning was his mindset inside the ring. Unlike other fighters who relied purely on brute strength, Michael studied his opponents carefully, watching their movements and searching for weaknesses. This analytical approach was unusual in the gym, catching the attention of his coach. One day, the coach told him, "You don't just need a strong punch, you need a strong mind. You have a rare ability to think while fighting, and that's what separates champions from ordinary boxers." Michael improved quickly, started winning local matches, and soon became one of the most promising young fighters in St. Louis. By 1974, Michael had become a standout amateur boxer on the local level, but he knew that the path to professional boxing started with representing his country internationally. He began competing in national tournaments, securing impressive victories that earned him a spot on the U.S. Olympic team. In 1976, Michael was selected to represent the United States at the Montreal Olympics, a moment that would change his life forever. He wasn't alone. His brother Leon Spinks was also on the team, making the experience even more special. But no one expected that the Spinks brothers would leave a lasting mark on that Olympic tournament. When Michael arrived in Montreal, he wasn't seen as a star of the event. There were many talented boxers, some with more experience than him, but he possessed something that others didn't, a unique strategic intelligence. In the first round of the tournament, Michael faced a tough opponent from Cuba. The Cuban fighters were known as the strongest in the Olympics at the time. But Michael wasn't intimidated. He used his signature defensive style, relying on his hand speed and evasive skills. He won the match, proving that he was not just another competitor. As the tournament progressed, it became clear that Michael wasn't just there to participate. He was a serious contender for the gold medal. He reached the final, where he faced a Russian fighter who was considered the favorite to win. On the night of the final, Michael stepped into the ring with determination in his eyes. He wasn't just fighting for himself, he was fighting for his family and to prove that a kid from the streets of St. Louis could become a world champion. The match was intense, and the Russian was extremely powerful, but Michael was smarter. He continued dodging his opponent's punches, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. In the final round, Michael unleashed a series of powerful punches that turned the fight in his favor. As the clock ran out, the result was announced. Michael Spinks had won the gold medal. But this wasn't just a personal victory. His brother Leon Spinks also won gold in the heavyweight division, making them the first pair of American brothers to win Olympic gold in the same tournament. This triumph was a turning point in Michael's life. His name was now recognized in the boxing world, but Olympic success was only the beginning. A greater challenge awaited him in the world of professional boxing. After winning the gold medal at the 1976 Olympics, Michael Spinks had a tremendous opportunity to become one of the most prominent names in the world of boxing. The beginning was somewhat challenging, as professional boxing was a completely different world from Olympic competitions. While in the Olympics, he relied on his speed and calculated movements. In the professional arena, fighters were more experienced and fiercer. However, Michael knew well that he couldn't rely solely on physical strength or even his technical skills. He needed to learn the art of adapting to different situations in the ring, as each fight presented a greater challenge than the last. Therefore, he began his professional career with his seasoned trainer, Eduardo Soto, whom he considered his spiritual father in the ring. Soto focused his training on enhancing Michael's tactical abilities, teaching him how to adapt to his opponents and use his intelligence to manage fights. Michael didn't treat boxing as just a physical sport, but as a mental game that relied on constant analysis and anticipating the next moves. From his first professional fight in 1977 against John Ford, Michael began to firmly establish himself in the ring, winning round after round on points. Even after his 20th fight, he had shown everyone the brilliance of his tactics and strategy inside the ring. In 1981, Michael reached one of the most important stages of his professional career when he won the World Light Heavyweight Championship. That year, he faced Eddie Mustafa Muhammad, the champion of the WBA, one of the strongest boxers in this weight class. Despite Muhammad's strength and larger size, Michael managed to control the fight with his style, which relied on dodging and delivering quick, powerful punches at the right moments. Michael won on points in a match that had everyone on their feet in admiration, and he became one of the best boxers in the light heavyweight division. Starting in 1983, Michael began to solidify his position as one of the best boxers in the light heavyweight division. After defeating Dwight Muhammad Qawi in a fight that was considered a unification bout, Michael claimed the World Boxing Council (WBC) title, becoming the champion who held all the world titles in his division. The Spinks vs. Qawi fight was one of the toughest and fiercest in boxing history, with all rounds being closely contested between the two. Michael's ability to maintain focus and use his exceptional speed were key factors in his victory in this 12-round bout. Michael Spinks had become an undisputed champion in the light heavyweight division, earning a reputation as one of the smartest and strongest boxers in the sport. In 1985, after becoming the undisputed light heavyweight champion, Michael made a bold decision that could be pivotal in his career. He decided to move up to the heavyweight division, a category known for its immense power and the ability to knock out opponents with a single punch. Most boxers who had moved up to this division in the past had failed, but Michael had a different way of thinking. Michael's decision was thoroughly calculated, as he knew that success in the heavyweight division required not just strength but also tactical intelligence and the ability to analyze quickly during a fight. His plan was to use his exceptional speed and dodging skills instead of directly confronting the physical strength of his opponents. His first test in the heavyweight division was against Larry Holmes, one of the greatest boxers in the history of the division and a boxing legend. Holmes was the World Boxing Council (WBC) champion at the time and had successfully defended his title for several consecutive years. On June 22, 1985, Michael Spinks, rising from the light heavyweight division, faced the legendary heavyweight champion Larry Holmes in a masterfully strategic bout. Spinks relied on his speed and intelligent movement, while Holmes, despite his experience, tried to impose his traditional, powerful rhythm. In the early rounds, Spinks carefully observed Holmes and adapted to his style, using quick footwork to evade punches. As the rounds progressed, Spinks increased his combination attacks, targeting Holmes' body, showing signs of fatigue on the veteran champion. In the 11th round, Spinks dominated with a relentless flurry that stunned Holmes, nearly scoring a knockdown. Spinks won by unanimous decision after 12 rounds, proving that speed and tactics could overcome raw power and experience. It wasn't a victory of strength, but of mind and strategy. This fight cemented Spinks' rise as a legend in the making. His first fight with Larry Holmes wasn't just a traditional match, but a finely crafted tactical battle that combined intelligence and human technology in boxing. By leveraging his speed and ability for smart movement, Michael Spinks managed to dominate a 12-round fight, securing a unanimous decision victory that showcased the rise of his modern style against traditional approaches. This historic fight remained a defining moment in Spinks' career, showing everyone that moving up to the heavyweight division didn't rely solely on physical strength but on precise planning and a well-crafted strategy. In 1986, Michael Spinks decided to face Larry Holmes once again in a title rematch, marking his second challenge in the heavyweight division. Despite Michael's victory in their first fight, Holmes was determined to reclaim the title. The match began with cautious tactics. Holmes relied on long jabs and gradual pressure, while Spinks maintained distance using his quick footwork and counterpunches. As the rounds progressed, Holmes attempted to intensify his attacks to exploit Spinks' openings, but the latter skillfully evaded the blows and responded with swift punches, maintaining his tactical superiority. By the later rounds, fatigue began to show on Holmes, while Spinks continued his assault with precise combinations to the head and body. Despite Holmes' final attempts to clinch and press forward, Spinks controlled the pace with intelligent movement and rapid reflexes. In the end, Spinks won by unanimous decision according to the judges' scorecards, solidifying his status as one of the greatest heavyweight boxers in history. In 1988, the greatest challenge of Michael Spinks' career arrived. The boxing world had changed dramatically with the rise of Mike Tyson, who was considered the most powerful heavyweight boxer at the time. The fight between Michael Spinks and Mike Tyson was one of the most anticipated matches in boxing history. It pitted the reigning heavyweight champion, Michael Spinks, who had won the world heavyweight title twice, against Mike Tyson, who had demonstrated devastating power, making him the favorite in this bout. Tyson had become the strongest and most famous heavyweight boxer of the time. This showdown was a dream for boxing fans, as it brought together two fighters with vastly different styles. The preparations for this fight were highly tense, with many expecting Spinks to rely on his tactical intelligence and maintain distance to avoid Tyson's rapid attacks. However, Tyson was renowned for his ability to apply relentless pressure and fight up close, giving him significant advantages in this matchup. Most commentators believed that Spinks wouldn't last long in the ring against Tyson, especially since Tyson possessed extraordinary punching power, particularly in the early rounds. Statistics showed that most of Tyson's victories came from knockouts in the first few rounds, posing a direct threat to the reigning champion, Michael Spinks. The fight took place on June 11, 1988, and while it began with high hopes for many boxing fans, it ended in a completely unexpected manner. Michael Spinks started the fight cautiously, trying to keep distance from Tyson and avoid his powerful punches. However, he couldn't evade Tyson's rapid attacks. Mike Tyson entered the fight and immediately applied his signature relentless pressure on Spinks. In less than a minute, Tyson began continuously pressuring Spinks, attacking from all angles. And after 91 seconds of the first round, Mike Tyson landed a devastating knockout punch directly on Spinks. The punch was a powerful left hook that sent Michael Spinks to the canvas in a shocking moment. The referee began the count, and by the 10th count, Michael Spinks was still on the ground, unable to get up. This defeat was a crushing blow to Michael Spinks' career, as he had considered himself at the peak of his abilities before the fight. Losing in such a sudden manner to Mike Tyson was shocking for boxing fans and sparked significant debate about Spinks' ability to succeed against an opponent like Tyson. There's no doubt that the quick knockout Spinks suffered was a personal shock. He had expected to fight Tyson over longer rounds, relying on his distinctive tactics to endure in the ring. However, in a single moment, those hopes were shattered, and Michael Spinks faced a new challenge outside the ring, dealing with this heavy defeat. After his devastating defeat to Mike Tyson in 1988, Michael Spinks made the surprising decision to retire from boxing. This decision came as a shock to both boxing fans and sports journalists alike. No one expected that the Olympic gold medalist and unified world light heavyweight champion would leave the ring at that moment. His loss to Tyson marked the beginning of the end of a golden era in his career, but despite the defeat, there was a general sense that Michael had given it his all. The loss to Tyson wasn't the sole reason for his retirement. Other factors also played a role in this decision. Michael had fought many significant battles throughout his career, carrying immense psychological and physical pressures. Additionally, he believed he had reached the pinnacle of his boxing journey and accomplished what he had set out to achieve. Although he was still in his mid-30s, Michael decided that his life outside the ring would be more important than anything else. He chose to step away from the spotlight and live a quiet life away from the public eye, which led to his near-complete disappearance from the sports scene after his retirement. He moved to California, where he immersed himself in business ventures unrelated to boxing. Michael sought success in other areas of life, including real estate investments and private business ventures, as he aimed to build a future away from the ring. His decision to step away from sports significantly impacted his life, as he lived in relative isolation, away from fans and photographers. This period was filled with challenges, but he preferred a private life over anything else, finding comfort away from the media pressure and the boxing world. Michael Spinks, now 68 years old, currently lives a quiet and private life away from the media spotlight. He resides in a house spanning 5 acres in Greenville, Delaware, where he values his privacy and stays out of the public eye. However, he occasionally participates in community activities, such as visiting local schools with his Olympic gold medal and 4 championship belts, to inspire students to pursue their dreams. Spinks says, "Most kids don't know who I am, but they listen when they see all this gold." Michael lives alone in his countryside home but maintains close relationships with his family, particularly his only daughter, whom he visits regularly. He is known to be a loving and devoted grandfather, spending time with his grandchildren during holidays and family gatherings. Though he keeps his family life private, close sources reveal that they provide him with comfort and warmth after years of solitude following the passing of his wife. Regarding his health, it was once believed that Spinks retired from boxing without permanent physical damage. However, since 2020, he has shown signs of slurred speech, raising concerns about his neurological well-being. Additionally, Spinks has faced financial challenges, including legal claims related to the loss of a large portion of his $24 million fortune. In January 2025, Spinks gave an interview with Vlad TV, where he discussed his career and his fight with Mike Tyson. The interview sparked mixed reactions, with some viewers expressing concern about his mental clarity, noting occasional memory lapses. One comment read, "Stop interviewing these old fighters, they can't process things properly." Despite these challenges, Michael Spinks continues to live a low-key life, focusing on his privacy, the family that provides emotional support, and limited public engagements. Michael Spinks remains a landmark figure in boxing history, a legend who has earned his place among the list of champions who have influenced the evolution of the sport over the years.